So, as you know, um, Carry the Load is about making sure that we honor those who never got to take off the uniform. Very different than honoring those who served and made it through.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're always keeping their memory alive. Who are you carrying?
A lot. This is Casey Owens. Corporal Owens was with us in Allenbar, Providence, and he was in an explosion on September 20th, 2004. And it's really bizarre. Like when somebody gets hurt and they get medevaced out, you almost don't see him again. I mean, you get updates. Casey's alive. He's wherever. He's in Alkmaar. He's in Germany. He's back in the United States. And when people die, you get notified of that as well. But it was almost like Casey disappeared from my life, and actually he did. Like when he left on September 20th, 2004, never saw him, never talked to him, nothing ever again. One of our other Marines. You don't really know Marines' first names, but I think his first name was Forrest Harrington, Sergeant Harrington, went out to go kind of help, right? He was a quick reaction force that went to go help Corporal Owens and all his Marines. Harrington was killed during that operation. I think it was September 20th or 21st, 2004. Body gets taken away. I never met the family, and so, that's basically gone from my life. And then one of my other friends here from Grand Prairie, Qualls, Lance Corporal Qualls, was shot in the head in the Battle of Fallujah. He died immediately, and he's buried here in Arlington, Texas, at the National Cemetery. And again, like I said before, I just put things away. I never went to Arlington. I never saw Qualls' deal. Nothing. So I start working with this charity that's helping our heroes, and we had a guest of honor, General Amos, who was the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and he said, "Hey, I hear Leslie is here, one of your volunteers. I want to go talk to her." And so General Amos and I drive over to the green where this lady, Leslie, was working, and they start talking, and I'll be darned if it wasn't Corporal Owens' sister. And General Amos fought tooth and nail to get money and budgets and all kinds of things for Corporal Owens to go through therapies and medical treatments and surgeries and, the trips for veterans to go skiing and alcohol treatment, just all kinds of things that General Amos did for one of the Marines that I was with that I never saw again. And oddly enough, his sister had volunteered to work at our charity event. It's amazing how God puts all these things together. And I'm like, "Leslie, you're Casey's sister?" And he's like, "Yeah." And we just started crying, because Casey eventually killed himself. He had a real hard struggle with a lot of things, like physical pain. He lost both his legs and alcohol and all those other things. And there's so much to the story. But we eventually had Leslie come speak to our group. Normally our guest of honors are that General Amos and commandants and 4-stars and Marines who lost legs and things. But we had Leslie come speak one year at our gala, and she talked so much about Casey and the life and his struggles, and he ended up taking his own life. And she said things like, "I'm sure Casey didn't want to end his life. He just wanted to end the pain," and how much she hurt. Casey's mom was there at the gala, and how much she was hurting years later. And like I said, I had struggled with suicidal thoughts until that night. I'm like, it's over. You are exactly right. This doesn't end the pain. It just passes it on to my kids and family. I don't want to end my life. I just want to end the pain. And I'm going to do that with me. I'm going to be the chain breaker that stops all these bad things. And I want to make sure that my wife and the next generation and all my friends and community are stronger from the chains that I'm breaking, as opposed to just passing it on. And so, in a very bizarre way, with Corporal Owens, who I never saw again after September 20th, 2004, in a very bizarre, long way, General Amos' sister Leslie being here in Dallas, working at the same golf tournament as I was, speaking at our event. Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I think Casey saved my life 10 years later through his sister speaking.
I don't think it's a stretch at all.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about people who never got to take off the uniform, it's very easy for people to think literally, you know, that they died in uniform.
Yeah.
And I think Corporal Owens is a really good example of how figuratively so many people do die in uniform.
Yeah.
Their soul, as you knew it, is dead.
Yeah.
And the fact that you give Corporal Owens in his death the credit for your living, I think shows the tremendous sacrifice that he made.
Yeah.
And I think it's also very important to point out that, you know, the pain, a lot of times what I've heard said is that pain, they don't want to be painful to others. And that's one of the things that has been very uncomfortable for me. A lot of times when people take their own life, it's because of that right there.
Yeah.
They don't want their pain to be someone else's pain.
Like a burden?
Some of that. It's just, I think it kind of goes back to, you know, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. It's so complex. The mental health side of things. It's so complex.
Yeah.
And, you know, the boomerang effect of love, you know, that we started this whole conversation with.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Because that's what it is. I mean, you're right. The mental aspect is very complex. It really boils down to being hopeless. Like, I have no hope that things are going to get better. Like, the pain is so great. For Casey, it was surgery, therapy, drinking, drug. You know, just I never talked to him, but I know I don't know. I would guess that he just felt like there's no hope. This is not going to get better. So I told you a little bit about Qualls, who got killed in Fallujah.
Yes.
And Harrington, who went to go get Casey, who died that day. Again, I finally open up the boxes and I go to Arlington, Texas cemetery to see Qualls, because a bunch of my buddies around here always go see him. And so I'll describe this verbally to your listeners, but here's Qualls' tombstone down there at Arlington, and look who's behind him. Harrington.
You've got to be kidding me.
It's unbelievable how that worked out. I didn't even know Harrington was buried there. And we're talking about Qualls, and I look up and there's Sergeant Harrington, literally the next tomb behind him. So what I'm...
Is that the Star of David?
Yeah.
So that picture, this is for another time, but that picture is so powerful in so many different ways. We talked about the divisiveness earlier, and there's a Christian headstone, and right behind it, Star of David. That's powerful.
Yeah. It's very powerful. And there's got to be some, you know, intervention to all those stories. You know, one of the lessons is how intertwined we all are.
Yes.
Right? I mean,